Hello and welcome to the Hope and Help podcast. My name is Gary Knighton and I am your hope dealer. Yes, I am your hope plug. Listen, that's the only kind of plug I am. But I'm so excited because for more than a decade, I have been bringing hope and help to people from all walks of life from all over the world. First, as a recovery counselor, secondly, as an itinerant minister and a college chaplain. I've literally spent most of my life being a person of encouragement and a person who is helping people get to their goals and fulfill their dreams and journeys. And so I'm excited now to be on Al Gore's internet, as they would say, sharing with you all hope and help, getting you the hope, the inspiration you need to go one more day, getting you the help, the access to connection, the conversations that'll help you take your life to the next level, right? Because there's so much more in store for you. And I want to be a part of that journey of helping you get to the next season, the next place, the next marker in your life. And hope is what I believe will help us all do that. Listen, most people are living lives of quiet desperation. Many of us are living lives where literally we're dying on the inside. We feel hopeless. We don't think our situation can change. We feel very much stuck. And my goal as your hope dealer, as your hope dealer, is to give you hope and help. Hope. Why hope? Because I believe that hope is the audacity to believe that tomorrow carries with it the promise of a better day. It's literally getting up in the morning. It's literally going throughout your day, believing that it can get greater later. It's believing that it can get better after this moment. And so it's my joy to help you through seasons of life, both through giving information, both through finding inspiring stories, talking to people who have been through what we've been through, sharing from my own personal journey to help you find hope. But then I want to give you hope by helping you. Listen, because I believe that everybody needs help sometimes. No man is an island. We're all going through life together and we really need help sometimes. No one can say they're successful all by themselves. Everybody needs a little help from time to time, whether that help is someone sharing or teaching you, or someone giving you the access to a room that you have the ability for that you just weren't able to get into. It's literally someone being a aid to you. And I want to be a source of hope and help myself, but also create an atmosphere through this podcast, through this video podcast, where we're talking to people who, one, found the motivation, found the energy, found the community to get hope, to get through what they were going through, but also what resources they have that were made available to them to get to the place that they are in life. And I want to talk to people like that who have amazing stories, whose journeys we can be inspired by and helped by, so that we can get hope and help. Yeah. So I'm so excited to join this journey with you. So this podcast will be released bi-weekly, prayerfully on Wednesdays, because I feel like Wednesday is just a good day. It's the day where we probably need the most hope, right? Where we need to kind of get over the hump of the week. Monday is a tough day, but Wednesday is that day for me where I need a little bit more energy to get to that, that pre-Friday, that Thursday. So we'll be releasing this podcast on Wednesdays bi-weekly to give you some hope and some help. Listen, so I've been thinking, like, what were we going to talk about for the first podcast? Like, what was going to be the inaugural, the launch podcast idea? And I was like, man, what's the first thing we should talk about? What's been so inspiring that I could talk about it for a while? Then it dawned on me. Over this last journey, last 2.5 years of my life, I've really been prioritizing self-care. I've done it in a couple ways. One, just working on my own personal mental health and wellness, something that has always been a journey for me, just working on my emotional intelligence and just connecting with myself and working through my own isms and schisms in my mind. But secondly, I also lost 100 pounds before 2021. April 5th, I was 381 pounds and I lost 100 pounds and I've been keeping it off for the last 2.5 years. And I did that primarily through self-care. And it was a compound journey. It was literally a season of my life where I got really selfish about me and about putting my well-being first and prioritizing that. And I learned so much about that. And today my goal in our first podcast is to encourage people, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in life, to give you a little bit of hope and telling you why, how, and just good reasons to prioritize self-care, because the truth is no one is going to care for you if you don't care for yourself. And I think the first place of hope, at least the first place where we get this resilience, is to start having a sense of self, to start having a sense of how I feel, how I'm doing. And I feel for us to be most hopeful, for us to be, one of my braids sticking up this whole time and nobody told me. Lord Jesus. We're going to leave this in. We're not going to edit this out. This is good content. Listen, okay. And I'm looking in all the cameras. Yeah. And I just finally saw the little braid. Thank you for making this podcast first episode interesting. Listen, so, I really just believe that the way we start having hope about the future for anything we're working on is when we're our best selves. And self-care doesn't just happen. Self-care is prioritized. You have to make it a thing. It doesn't just become a thing. We have to make it a thing. And so I want to give you like 5 good reasons, whether you're doing it already or not. This will serve either as a reminder for some of us, or for some of us, it will serve as an encouragement, a push, a thrust. Good reasons why we should prioritize health and why we should prioritize our self-care and our well-being above everything else. And I want to give you some selfless reasons why, some good reasons why. So let's journey and let's get into that. So reason number 1, why we should prioritize self-care. And this is one of my favorite ones, and I say it a lot. And it's because a better you is better for everyone and everything you're connected to. It just is. A better you is better for everyone and everything that you are connected to. All the work you're doing, all the people's lives that you're connected to will be blessed by you being better. I know a lot of times the idea is for us to just keep pushing and just being tired and feeling overwhelmed, and we're just kind of used to that dance. But the truth is, when we're not well, we're not giving people our best self. We're not giving our work our best self. And that can be leading to the frustration. That can be leading to the depression. That can be leading to the feeling of heaviness and being overwhelmed because you're tired, because you're worn out. And so while you're trying hard and you're giving maximum effort, you may not be giving your best to this venture because you're just not at your best. So when we are at our best self, we're able to give our best to the things that we love and actually care for. So it's actually really loving to work on ourselves and prioritize self-care, because a better you is better for everybody connected to it. We'll be better for our kids. We'll be better for the people we're in intimate and platonic relationships with. We'll be better for our jobs and our careers and our businesses that we've started. We'll be better people who can take care of ourselves in terms of financial security. We're just better all the way around, and everything we're connected to gets better. I remember I was having a talk with one of the chaplains on campus, and he was asking me, how is some of how is your ministry growing so well even after COVID? And I was telling him, I was like, well, during COVID, I kind of, during the last little bit of COVID, like 2021, I started a health journey, and I lost, at that point, I think in the conversation, maybe 60 to 70 pounds. I was close to almost 100 pounds down. Actually, I was 100 pounds down then. And I told him one of the major reasons why this ministry is growing because I bettered myself. And I'm not saying, again, for those who are in ministry watching, to say that my weight made the ministry work, but a better me meant a better chaplain for the campus. It meant a person and a leader who was willing to do harder work. It meant that I was willing to stay up later. I was willing to go grab things from my office that had been an idea, but now I was bringing them into fruition because I had the energy, and I wasn't afraid or limited, rather limited is a better word. I wasn't limited by a different version of myself that just couldn't get the job done because I weighed too much, or I was out of breath or out of shape. Literally, becoming my best self benefited the ministry. It also benefited the ministry because I was also not so subconscious. I was able to give more of my mental, my mental energy toward the ministry because I wasn't so focused on all my insecurities because I had eradicated that through self-care. So again, a better you is better for everyone connected to you. And if you can start prioritizing self-care, you'll find that you'll be giving people your best and not just what's left over. Number 2, without consistent care, everything breaks down eventually, including us. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the first episode of the Hope and Help podcast. I'm so excited to be taking this journey with you all. Listen, this space right here in my podcast is for you business owners who want to sponsor an episode of the Hope and Help podcast. But since this is the first episode, you didn't know about this, so I'm going to use this time to plug my own business, which is sponsoring this first video, which is Gary Knight in Photography. And we want to let you know that we are offering fall minis for you and your family. Just like my family is back here making a bunch of noise, we're offering fall minis for you and your family through the month of October. So make sure you go to my website, Gary Knight in Photo, and book your session today. All right, let's get back to the podcast. So excited for you guys to be with us. Let's go. Listen, I don't care how dope the car is you have when you first have it. I don't care what name brand it is. If you don't take it in for regular repairs, it will break down. It will literally start falling apart. Everything needs maintenance, and so do we. So it's crazy for us to think. It's not logical for us to think that we can go on endlessly, go on just continuously without ever pulling into the pit crew, even in a race. In a form, I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I know that in NASCAR and some different racing things that there's a pit crew. I know that. And every so often the cars come in to get things changed out, to get tires replaced, to put maybe more air in their tires, to get gassed up. Nothing runs forever without care. And I think that we've put too much burden on ourselves to think that I could just keep going. You are not the Energizer Bunny. You need care. You need consistent care, or you will break down, or we will break down. We need care. And so if we don't prioritize self-care, then we will eventually burn out. We will eventually break down. And it won't be overnight, but it will be incremental. And then you'll wake up one day and you're like, man, how did I get here? And it's literally sometimes because we do not care for self. And so if we don't have a routine of self-care, we'll find ourselves on the brink of burnout all the time. It doesn't matter how often you go in for repair. Every now and again, you're going to need to go back. So you need a routine like this. You get an oil change sometimes and you last 4,000 to 5,000 miles. You got to go back. That oil change doesn't last forever. So we need to build into our life a healthy routine of care, because everything breaks down eventually, including us. I'm feeling very churchy, but just put your hand over your heart and say, including me, yeah, including me. If I don't take care of myself, I break down, right? So that's a really, really good reason to prioritize self-care. Number 3, some of our poorest choices are made when we are depleted. Yikes. Listen, when our emotional batteries are depleted, my good friend Jeff Epps said, he's a social worker, and he said he has to keep his emotional batteries charged, because when he's at 70% or he's at 60% charge, his desires are different. Therefore, his choices are different. And that thing, I wanted to slap that man because it was such a good statement. And it was so true, because when we are not fulfilled, when we are not charged up emotionally, when we don't have what we need, we crave different things. A person who is hungry and hasn't eaten in a while and is starving will eat just about anything. And that's not the type of energy we want to be walking around with. That's not the type of desires we want to have for our life, when there's so many poor and just maladaptive and destructive choices that we can make in life are offered to us in the world, we need to have our best selves making the best decisions for us, right? So it's really, really imperative that we prioritize self-care, that we create a routine of self-care, because sometimes when we're not in a good place, because we haven't cared for ourselves, we make decisions that further deplete us, that further damage us, that lead us away from a place of wellness. So if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, one of the best things you can do is find a routine, find some way to make self-care a priority so that you don't end up making decisions that ultimately take you away from where it is that you actually want to go. So we got to prioritize self-care, because sometimes we're making poor decisions when we're depleted. I can tell you right now, we're not going to go over all my decisions, but some of my worst decisions in life have been made when I didn't feel good about myself, when I didn't feel loved, or when I didn't feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are some of the decisions we make when we're at a low place. So it's so important, especially for us who are encouragers, especially of us who are serving other people. You got to make sure you're serving yourself, because the decisions you make affect other people. So we need to be making good decisions in our lives because people are connected to them. And if we're not making those good decisions, it might be because we haven't prioritized self-care, right? So that's huge. Number 4, we're getting through this list. And this is what happens when you're recording your podcast at home. All right. So, okay, that's over. So we're going to cut that out anyway. So number 4, listen, we can't realistically expect anyone else to let's do that again. Number 4, we can't realistically expect anyone else to prioritize our well-being if we don't at first lead by example. Listen, people will handle us the way we show them how we want to be treated. We can't expect anyone else in this world, people who love us, people who like us, okay. Number four, we can't realistically expect anyone to prioritize our well-being if we first don't lead by example. We have to show people how to treat us. We have to show people how to care for us. We have to show people what it is that we need, how we feel when we are correctly loved. Number 4, we can't realistically expect anyone to prioritize our well-being if at first we don't lead by example. Listen, people are going to treat us the way they want to treat us unless we show them how to treat us. We need to model for other people what it is to care for our needs, what it is to care for our hearts, because the truth is, if we don't do that, people will just do however they feel and they won't prioritize us. But we show people the way when we care for ourselves, how to handle us, how to treat us. We show them what the standard is. But when we're not leading by example, we're allowing them to just make decisions about what it means to care for us. Like, having a self-care routine shows people how to handle you, what you need, what you expect, what charges you, what fills you up. It's easy for them to jump into a routine that you have already created. Listen, we can't expect anyone to treat us better than we treat ourselves. Like, we can't expect someone to show up, not see us care for ourselves, and then know how to care for us. We literally demonstrate care by caring for ourselves, by prioritizing our self-care. We show them what we need in order to survive and to thrive. And number three of this like subsection, we have to show people how to care for us. And I think, again, we just can't expect people to show up in our lives to provide self-care, to join in that journey, if we haven't already modeled that for them, shown them, give them ideas and perspective on how to minister, how to aid, how to encourage, how to build us up. And so we need to prioritize self-care so that other people will know how to handle us. They'll see our example and then follow it and know that this is what we need in our life. Number 5, one of the main reasons we should prioritize our self-care is because this is what we model for the people coming behind us. Our children, our followers, our family, our loved ones literally will follow our pattern of care for ourselves and adopt many of the habits, many of the ways that we care for ourselves. These people will pick up on. I remember, as I was going through my weight loss journey, my sons were subconsciously and unconsciously picking up on my healthy habits. They would, want to go get me a bar or a shake, or starting to see how I was eating very different and start making comments about it. They were watching my pattern of self-care. And it was funny because I started getting a little bit annoyed because they started wanting to eat like every 2.5 hours. And I'm like, guys, you guys are eating everything. And it was like, no, we're basically, what was happening was the routine of the home was starting to come into one. The kids were starting to eat every 2.5 hours subconsciously. They just want to eat when they saw us eating because it made sense. And so when we prioritize care, we're literally modeling these healthy habits for the people we love and the people who follow us and the people who we impact. And it does something for them. And it shows the next generation how they should care for themselves as well. And so I think we have talked about 5 good reasons to prioritize self-care. Now, in the next coming weeks, I want to really get into this. I want to talk to some other people on this podcast in the next coming weeks. I want to talk about self-care, but I'm going to talk about it categorically. I want to talk about physical self-care. Like how does it feel to go through a weight loss journey? Like how does it feel to lose 100 pounds? How did you dig yourself out of being 381 pounds, getting down to being under 300 pounds and moving toward your goal weight? Like, how did you get over that? How did you get motivated? How did you stay motivated? I want to talk about how do we care for ourselves spiritually? Like, what are we doing to feed our soul? We're doing everything to acquire materialistic things, but what are we doing to feed our soul? Like, how are we doing soul care? And then I want to talk about our financial well-being. Like, man, how are we growing financially? What does financial self-care look like? What does mental and emotional self-care look like? We're going to hit it all underneath the umbrella of prioritizing self-care. So I gave you good reasons today. Let's recap these reasons before we go so that we have them all in one space at one time. Listen, the first reason why you should prioritize self-care is that a better you is better for everyone connected to you, for everything connected to you. Number 2, without consistent care, everything breaks down eventually, including us. Number 3, some of our poorest choices are made when we are depleted. Number 4, we can't realistically expect anyone to prioritize our well-being if we don't first lead by example. And lastly, the healthy lifestyle that we're leading is what we model to our future. Okay, so a lot of times the way we model or live out our life is what becomes the model of care that other people associate their life with. This has been the Help and Hope inaugural podcast, and I'm so excited for you guys to join me in it. Again, on Wednesdays bi-weekly, we will be releasing new episodes. I will be releasing new episodes to inspire, to encourage, to help you, to push you, to tell you that tomorrow carries with it the promise of a better day. And it does. So would you go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe? Push the notification bell if you already haven't, so that you will know when our next podcast comes out. It has been a pleasure to be with you. And listen, I don't care who you are, where you are. Let me look into the camera and say that. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you've been through, and where you're going. Everybody, and I mean absolutely everybody on the planet, needs hope and help. See you next time.